joining in, if we could just share one line on what we're currently doing and what we're looking to achieve from the call. I think it'll help us just shape and direct the call a lot better. So whenever you all are ready, please go ahead.
All right. Welcome everybody to our new panel. Yes. Welcome everybody to our panel discussion with Chandni Chopra, Jigyasa Labru, and Soumya Jain, as moderated by Ria and Anjana. I will not take too much of your time as we do this. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody who's on the panel to that you've taken out time to share your learnings, your journey, and your expertise with everybody who has joined us today. And I also wanted to thank both Anjana and Ria for just really diving into this idea of just moderating, working with all the the panelists who are here today. One thing that holds a lot of you together is your shared experiences at Teach for India. I've known some of you for a long time now. And I've heard of some of you for a long time now. And some of you I've met only recently, but each of you has left me inspired by not just the vision that you have, which is at once creative and ambitious, but also the conviction and clarity with which you're set on your path to reach it. Chandni, I remember that, working together on building the student leadership program called Udyami, which through which we built the mindsets of social entrepreneurs amongst teenagers, and some of whom have gone on to do very interesting and crazy stuff over the next few years, including with Jigyasa's Slam Out Loud, which has, of course, been paving the way in terms of what it really means to bring the essence of creativity into learning, whether it is that is through slam poetry or that is through art of different kinds, whatever your interpretation is, as long as it's self-expression, as long as it's voice. Soumya has shown us through I Teach and the way he has built that through how you can take the idea of reinventing education for the children who need it most and turn it into the behemoth that I Teach has become today, and just the weight it carries across the corridors of reimagined education. Anjana and Ria, of course, have been working on Theatre of the Oppressed in Bangalore for the past year. They have been our innovation funding grantees from our pilot first 10 projects, and have done some amazing work, and I have witnessed their growth over the past year as well. Just wanted to give that perspective, and with that I wanted to actually hand over to Anjana and Ria with one quick note about why we're doing this panel today. As we recruited for the Circle Incubation, which is our 2-year program to build and support entrepreneurs to design, launch, and run their schools and after-school centers, what we've noticed is that often the difference between a great application and the one that we that is exceptionally, absolutely convinced us that you will be a part of the incubation is the distance between just a great vision and the clarity and conviction that is necessary to bring it to life. So we decided we are going to create a space where we find the people who we think embody that and bring them to you. With that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Ria and Anjana. Thank you, friends.
Thank you so much, Ashia, for starting us off. That was a very energetic start. I think, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the 3 of you for making it to today's call and giving us this 1 hour. And we really hope to really juice out a lot of pieces on the clarity on this call. And also, I think thank you to the people who are joining in. We hope to do justice, and we hope there's also a very fun Q&A part for 15 minutes where we'd also like to hear your questions and get a lot of them answered. But to start us off, I think just setting the agenda for the call. We've all spoken about we all are here to discuss a very big but very simple concept of clarity. Like, what does clarity really mean for somebody in the sector? What does it mean for a social entrepreneur? And I think just to start off, we're going to be discussing what is clarity, why is it important, and eventually go into how does one achieve clarity. We also have a small vision statement, which we're all going to together dissect and give feedback on. So there's also going to be a lot of tangible takeaways, hopefully. And hopefully for everybody who is attending the call, we hope that at least you walk out of this 1 hour call at least taking 3 key takeaways on steps you can take from where you are right now. And I think over to Anjana to reintroduce our very esteemed panel today.
Okay. I'm really excited to talk to you about the people we have on board today to talk to us. I think I've been hearing these names for like so many years now, even before I joined the fellowship. Back when I was in college, I used to see ads of, all of these panelists, and now being on this call with y'all, it just seems a little surreal. But yeah, taking a couple of minutes to introduce everyone. So on this call, we have Soumya Jain. Soumya is the CEO and founder of iTeach. So iTeach runs 9 high-quality free schools, secondary schools in Pune for under-resourced children. They also have an extremely excellent college-to-career program where they ensure that every kid that reaches to the 10th grade with them also makes it to college. So that's Soumya. We also have Chandni. Chandni works as the Chief Program Officer at Simple Education Foundation. Chandni has a lot of expertise in research, pedagogy, and also program design, and is currently transforming public schools across India. We also have Jigyasa on this call with us. So Jigyasa runs Slam Out Loud. Slam Out Loud brings arts and education to under-resourced children in India, hoping to build socio-emotional learning in them. So they operate across cities. And I think the interesting bit when we talk about Slam Out Loud is that back when I was doing my bachelor's in design, I actually interned with Slam Out Loud as their social media intern for about 2 months in 2020. And yeah, so I did a lot of social design in college. And then I got exposed to Slam Out Loud. That also brought me in touch with arts and education. And I think these were the 2 main things that really brought me to join the fellowship. And yeah, so right now I'm a year 2 fellow in Bangalore. And like Arshia said, we did a lot of art and education work in our first year as well. And that's kind of when I bumped into my co-fellow and co-moderator for this call, Ria.
Okay, and just a quick background on me. So I come from an advertising background. And one day when I was actually shooting an ad for Teach for India, I realized how cool it was. And I decided to quit the industry and join the fellowship. And I think, again, now I'm doing my fellowship. I'm a year 2 fellow in Bangalore, working with a government high school. So we cater to grade 9 and 10. A little about our background is also in our first year of the fellowship, we started a small community center to sort of cater to like after school needs of the students. And that's when through the The Circle Innovation Grant, we ran a 9-month applied theater program. So we were all very passionate about it, and we ran it through. We essentially explored different images like body image issues and identity and drug abuse and absent fathers. We explored all these themes through role play and narratives. And so we started off our base in arts and education. But I think at the end of 1 year, we were left with this understanding that actually there's no vision that we started with. Like our approach was highly reactive to the need. And the end of year 1, we were at a junction saying, okay, what happens next now? Or what really does this lead to? And that's when we felt like we probably don't have a lot of clarity in what we are doing. And that brings us to a lot. So we're also approaching the call with a lot of curiosity of what does it take? What does it really take to not be reactive, especially when you're working with so many stakeholders, and to really ground yourself in why you're doing what you're doing. So I think just opening the first question to y'all around what is the role that clarity as a concept has played in your journeys? I think if Jigyasa, you would like to start us off.
All right, happy to start here. So what is the role clarity has played in my journey? I think a very, very philosophical question, and a very philosophical answer to this really was given by Rumi many years ago, which talks about when you start walking on the path appears. I think no one comes to the work of social change with utmost clarity in their head. But people are often, and I myself was often clear on the fact that I wanted to be in this space, and I wanted to play a role in reimagining it. I think for me, the moment I started working with children at Teach for India, I was clear on that I might want to do more in this space. I was clear on that there is more possible for these children to find their own voices. There is more possible to these children than studying content which is created by someone else. Knowing the stories of adults, knowing the stories that adults have decided they will hear. And that's what I had clarity on, that I wanted to be a part of something that does something about that. Everything that has emerged from there has been more exploration than being clear right from the beginning. I think another thing that you shared in the beginning, which was about like being reactive, and I'm wondering what is so wrong about being reactive to a circumstance that you see, and how do you differentiate what is the difference between, whether you're responding or whether you're being reactive. Often a lot of responses that come from a place of thoughtfulness and that comes from a place of deeply caring are responses that might lead to failure. But like, is it a fear of failure that stops us from responding, or and keep waiting for the said clarity to arrive? Or are we really looking for like exactly how success looks like? Because then we're not creating something new if we already know what success will look like. So yeah, for me, it was really like starting to walk on the path and having clarity that this was something I wanted to commit myself to. The other thing that I think I did was commit to understanding the problem really. It is one thing to say that children in India do not have safe spaces to express themselves. But it takes a lot of time, energy, patience, intention, work to live and stay with that problem. And I'm still choosing to live and stay with that problem. I don't think we've fully figured it out. I don't think we have all the answers. But the decision to stay with that problem was the clarity that I had, and that's the clarity I still have.
Thank you for that. And I think that does make me also like think about what is wrong with being reactive, because I think we are all walking on very uncharted paths. So maybe the need does dictate the next step that we do take. So thank you for bringing that. Soumya, it's like, how has it been for you?
Yeah. So I'll go, see, the point of having different panelists is to have different perspectives. While I agree with a lot of what Jigyasa shared at a personal level, let me share a more organizational level view. So for me, I teach as an organization, clarity has helped in two ways. One, it's helped us make decisions. So what that means is there's so much to do. It's hard to choose what to do and what not to do. When I'm working with students, you could decide to say, hey, I also got to take care of their health and their nutrition. What about their families' livelihoods? What about safe spaces for expressing themselves? What about sports, computer literacy? Like 1,000 gaps, right? You could identify. At that point, what has helped I teach is to know what we are good at, to know what we're really passionate about, and what makes our economics work, right? And then that helps us say no to things and stay focused on some of the things that we've set out to do as well. So I'm all for exploration, and I'm also all for not necessarily bucketing yourself saying this is all that you want to do, But I think at an org level, you need focus, and so Clarity has helped us with focus that way. So that's one. Two, I think it's helped alignment. I like to use the phrase that I teach, saying I like to be highly aligned and loosely coupled. So what that means is I think I need the team to be highly aligned to a vision, but then very loosely coupled on how you will get there, and that's fine. All of my 9 schools can get where they want to, but all the teachers within that school have got to kind of row in the same direction, and so having those things have helped a lot. A very simple example actually is, and again we can debate the merits and demerits of it separately, but a simple example has been we've held complete clarity on we would like all our students to graduate college, and then that's dictated a lot of choices to us in how we run our schools and what we prep them for, and even to the extent of founding an entire vertical that makes sure students get to and through college both. Now, if we didn't have clarity on that, I'm not sure if, I think there would be many choices that would be made differently from there. Yeah, so that's kind of the a slightly different view on clarity.
Yeah, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think more goal setting, I think it helps us pick our goals of if this is where we are, these are the goals we want to achieve. And also what goals, like picking the right battles to fight, given our strengths as a team. That
100%. Yeah.
Shalini, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. I was like things that are staying with me from what both Jigyasa and Soumya shared is just that thing of like being reactive versus being responsive. And I think from what Jigyasa said that I really connected to, and what's been true for me is like clarity for me, whether it's been in setting up one school or multiple programs with SEF or just generally in life, I would say it's not like a constant state of being. No, it's like I deeply recognize for myself like how my mind and my body feels when I'm in a state of clarity, and that's a good signal for me that I just feel like I'm in flow, and like it's that very empowering sense ki like, oh, like everything is like in harmony, everything's making sense right now. But also knowing that it's one state of being and wo constantly change hote jayega with the challenges or changes that come about. So I think early on, and I'll talk just about like when setting up a school or starting to work with a school, early on, it felt like I have a lot of clarity. Like I know exactly what goals I want. This is what I want for kids. This is what our educators need to do. This is how principals need to develop, all of that. But when actually walking on the path, you realize like, no, none of this makes any sense. And to be open enough at that point to be like, okay, and I think at that point, even though I had a set plan, the clarity I needed was ki, you don't know everything. It's just that clarity that I needed at that moment was to like surrender my ego a little bit and know that this has to be a collective vision that I have to create with stakeholders, especially as the school system we were building was with government teachers, and the entire school ecosystem was with the government system. So one is that even if you have a set plan and you feel like ki bahut amazing goals hain tumhare, knowing when to pause, knowing when to step back, and knowing when to know ki like this might be my understanding of what children need or what this system needs, but can I be mindful enough to pause, respond, and build that shared clarity. And I think that is also extremely important to recognize. And my journey with clarity has been that, okay, do I have a sense of clarity in terms of what children need, what the school needs, or what we need to do together to grow? Yes. And what are clarity on the outcomes? And then I think the second level of clarity has been really important for me to develop, not only when it comes to one school system, but any design, just clarity on the process and what's the process or approach you want to take. And how does clarity of the outcome and clarity, like how do you want to, like what's the kind of relationship you want them to have? Because for certain design ideas, I've prioritized clarity of process. And for certain things, I prioritize clarity of outcome. This is the goal we want to reach. And that decision on which one should take priority has also been an interesting learning for me. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I've learned is कि in that journey कि कुछ चीजें हैं जो आप बिल्कुल sacred रखोगे. And there are certain things that you will have to be just open to and say that there is going to always be a part of my vision or my goals that I will keep adaptable, I will keep responsive, because you want to shift the status quo. So you want to hold certain things, say, sacred, that are creative, innovative, that are really going to change things for innovation. And there are certain things you want to bring people along and hold that. So what's that kind of balance you want to create? I think that's been an important learning in that journey of clarity.
Yeah, I think one like common point that I think all three of you all brought out is to know how much to hold, how much to let loose. That there has to be a balance, because their clarity doesn't mean that like everything is dictated and like I have the plan and now I'm just executing it. But it is, I have a vision, there is a grounding to my project, but there's also, I should be comfortable enough to also lose that control too, because we're also working with like people. So I think a firm vision would also make us close our ears and eyes to what we're seeing. So I think that good balance that makes sense.
Yeah. I also think that we all spoke about, all these action points, like stick to the problem and, the process versus outcome. And also Soumya said, just aligning with your team, all of that. I think what Chandni brought up was very interesting to see that, in your journey, you need to know how to take that pause, because I think Ria and I are also at that stage where, maybe we're like, okay, where is this going? So I think what would be really interesting to hear from you is, what are those experiences that, led you to that point of clarity? A couple of...
Yeah, and also I think concrete steps that you sort of took to get there. Like maybe if you could share one experience. I said all three of you are thinking deeply now, but I think any one experience, or if just like steps you took in the process of it.
And whoever's ready can start us off.
I think for me, bringing people on board has always been interesting. Have been a set of interesting experiences to continue reflecting and refining our vision and mission. What that means is whether it's hiring someone, right, and they're interviewing and they're asking you, hey, this is what I want to do. Is I teach this or not? I think that's always time when you're thinking, are we really that? And then it's also to do with new funding partners, right? I mean, people come with their visions and what they think is right, and then they're like, does that align? How much does it align? Actually, what they're saying makes sense. So maybe we, go a little bit that way, or that actually is not aligning with us. So I think whenever you're trying to get more people to join you, either as on your team, as donors, as advisory board members, any of that, I think all of those cumulatively have pushed me to continue reflecting on, are we this or are we not this? And that happens a lot, right? I mean, there are people, whenever somebody comes to my school, they 100% have an opinion about what more we should be doing, right? 100%. And so that always pushes you to think about, well, is that something we would do? Is that not something we would do? Is that really critical to our mission? Is it not? Yeah, so I would say just those conversations have pushed me a lot.
Yeah, I think I really resonate with that as well, because we also work with like so many different stakeholders, and to make sure that, everyone's on the same page, everyone wants the same collective vision. I think that process of getting to that collective vision really helps clarify things along the way. Chandni, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like I agree with Soumya in terms of when you know that this is sacred for me as an organization or a program, and then is like you might receive feedback that is like, you can receive 1,000 points of feedback or just perspectives, in fact, that were like, oh, and there's also experiences that you get exposed to and you're like, oh, this is so interesting and creative and I really like this, but is this really aligned to your vision or what you're holding sacred? Because there is curiosity and learning for just that intrigue, and you keep connected and you want to continuously learn, and we should all keep doing that. But when it comes to your program or any kind of school system, just to make sure that you're checking back with what your vision is, or jo aapki sacred cheezein hain, you're checking back with that. So somebody could give feedback like, yeah, you should have this kind of activity day for students, but it's not really aligned, or you should have this kind of assessment strategy for students, but it's not matching that vision. It could be an amazing assessment strategy. It could be the best, and they might be offering it for free. But at that time, when it's really difficult to hold to your vision because the feedback or the idea or the perspective seems very attractive, I think that's something that you really need to hold true to and anchor yourself in. That's definitely been a learning and an example that I could say. In terms of ki jab examples for me in terms of jab thoda let go karna hai is, so I'll give you an example, a very concrete example of when we started out, like setting up a school, our first school, in fact, at SCF. And at that time, jab hum curriculum or teachers ka karte, humne, we had just done like patchwork. Idhar se kuch utha diya, idhar se kuch utha diya. But there was no anchoring on like a very clear, this is the student vision. Therefore, this would be what we want for teachers. Therefore, this is what we would want for principals. And at that point, the choice was to hold the process sacred. What I knew in terms of the outcome was not ki I want these 5 things for a student outcomes or a student vision, but the principles that were sacred was that it has to be shared. The principal, parents, teachers' voice has to be in it. So then the principles and the process became sacred, not so much the outcome. So those are decision points in terms of what are you really holding sacred? Because I knew that whatever vision that gets created, it might take 1 year. It did. It in fact took us 1.5 years to create that shared student vision. But knowing that once this is built, it is going to be something that 200-300 people feel that they have built together, they share it, and they really believe in it and want to carry it through. So then making that choice point ki abhi outcomes zyada zaruri nahi hai, process zyada zaruri hai. Just doing that, I think, has been important, and knowing when to prioritize what.
Yeah, I think what I'm really taking away from this is to say that there are a couple of values or goals that we are really holding at the center of our thing, and then all the feedback that comes in, we take that as and when it aligns to our vision and mission. I think, holding that one central crux makes a lot of sense. Jigyasa, if you want to add.
Yeah, I can start with sharing a moment of immense clarity for us, which has been especially around funding, when a lot of funders come in with, math padha do, art se, which maybe a couple of years down the line we might still explore, but ye kara do, ya fir SEL sports se kara do, usse bhi jo hoti hai, ya SEL numeracy literacy se kara do, usse bhi hoti hai, right? And for us, like, what is also a very strategic decision is that we do the arts, and that we do social emotional learning, and that we don't do other things. And we've said no to a lot of those opportunities, or we can call them distractions at that point of time. When we've put our foot in the ground and we've said that, as an organization, what we know is social emotional learning using visual and performing arts. Now, I think a framework that has allowed us at Slam Out Loud to come to clarity is understanding what we're already good at, and understanding what could we get better at, or what is an area that we'd still love to explore, which leaves room for us being very, very focused in our work, but then also leaning into curiosity. And it's called like the exploit explore framework, which is often actually, if you think about a lot of American movies, They use a lot of exploit framework, which is like if one Avengers movie works, then 10 movies will come out. And that's very exploitative way of doing things. And organizations and people should know that what is to be exploited, what they're good at, what should they really, really follow and keep doing. But then there is also an explorative framework, and a lot of Indian cinema these days is in that space. Or if you could say like Barbie or Oppenheimer were such movies which were in more of an exploratory space. And for organizations to have clarity on what is something that you're good at and what you want to keep doing, but also having these innovation cells on the side in which you explore, in which you get clarity as you walk the path. I think having both of these is crucial, and things that allow you to understand what to explore and what to exploit are things like organizational values, are things like strategic decisions that you've taken, and you again put your stake in the ground and you say, we'll stick with it for X amount of time before we change that decision. I think we cannot be impulsive when it comes to stuff like education. And so like staying with the problem, refining the solution, knowing what we're good at, knowing what we want to explore. I think those are all like paths and frameworks that lead to better clarity and focus.
Yeah. I think again, that's the idea of like core balance, like who you are, know what you're good at, keep doing that. Also keep room for more innovation, but not in a way that it distracts you or takes you away from your core mission. So I think with that, I'd like to just open the space. There's a small vision document that we actually have with us. It's essentially a sample document that we received. We've obviously changed some details to maintain confidentiality. But since we've spoken so widely about what vision is and how that concept of vision evolves, a lot of the people on the call currently are probably on their first or second draft of that vision document. And of course, while like you're saying, it is going to evolve with time, if I could just share my screen and read out this vision statement to you, and if all of you all could just chime in on what are the exact points that a person who's probably sitting on a document like this should further explore or refine.
I'll screen share, Ria, if that's okay. Yeah.
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 I'll just read it out. My vision is to establish a dynamic after-school program in the village of Barwan Kala in Bihar, dedicated to providing transformative, relevant learning experiences for the children. Through personalized support and comprehensive training programs, I aim to cater to the unique needs of each young learner. By equipping them with the essential skills and knowledge, my mission is to unlock a world of opportunities, fostering a strong sense of community and empowerment within the village. I even want to introduce the young learners to advanced coding and robotics workshops. Through innovative teaching methodologies, I'm determined to bridge the educational gap, ensuring that every student thrives and embarks on a successful journey of learning and personal growth. I know that's a lot, but I think first 2-3 lines, if you like anyone, if you all want to just start, but things they could have done, like things that need a little more clarity, or things they could probably think through a little better.
I'll start off with one, and then Jigyasa Chandni can add more stuff. I think I like to try and separate vision and mission. So in my mind, vision is what you want to achieve, and missions can be how you want to achieve them. When I look through this, unlock a world of opportunities, fostering a strong sense of community and empowerment within the village are probably the vision areas that are that need to probably be detailed out a little bit, but those are kind of the vision areas. All of the other stuff, whether it's the after school program, or if it's a transformative learning experiences, personalized support, comprehensive training program, robotics, coding, innovative teaching methodology, all of those are just ways to get there. And I think those ways can evolve as you do things. So my I guess one would be separate vision and mission, and secondly, probably detail out that vision a little bit more and make that clearer What does world of opportunities mean? What does strong sense of community mean? And what does empowerment within the village mean?
I think another framework is also, I think, to use SMART goals. That's something we're currently doing, that if you have empowerment, I think, how do we make it specific, measurable? So I think something around that. Jigyasa Chandni?
I can add, I think I would also agree with separating vision and mission. But for both, like first, of course, like no, before jumping into what needs to change, I think I can see the intentionality even in this paragraph, and I really, really appreciate that. Like there is empowerment, there is like unlocking a world of opportunities, and these things are so important for children and for people who make these things happen for others. So I want to just pause and appreciate and acknowledge that. Now coming to the vision and mission statements themselves, I think like the first big thing that I'm looking for in both vision and mission statements is like show me, don't tell me. So show me like what unlocking a world of opportunities means. Show me what empowerment within the village means. And the second thing I would push for is specificity, especially when it comes to mission. Like the only specific thing I understand through this is advanced coding and robotics workshops. If that is the hero of the story, advanced coding and robotics workshops, like it needs to be highlighted, and it needs to be the only thing that we're talking about then, if that is the mission. Yeah, those were my two big ones: show, don't tell, and be specific.
Yeah. First of all, I just think the way it's written, obviously, this person, whoever's written, is extremely passionate and wants to definitely bring in a lot of innovations and changes into whatever after school program that they want to run. So that's there. But that being said, I'm just also thinking that between me, Soumya, and Jigyasa, like I really can't figure out what the vision, like the clarity, like what is the specific vision. It could be the opportunity, sense of community empowerment. Is it just robotics technology? Is it very personalized learning experiences? I'm not sure what the hero is actually at this point. So what's really the center of your vision? That is not really coming out clearly to me. Ki center kya hai? What's the one thing, or what's the core of it essentially? वो clearly नहीं आ रहा है. And then I would say कि for a powerful vision, it doesn't have to be very lengthy. That sometimes we like a short, crisp, and very articulate and sharp vision. You can be like, frugal with your words, but powerful in the impact. So would want to think about to zero on what is it really at the core? What are the 2-3 core words you want to anchor on? And then break those 3 to 4 words down very deeply into the what's and the hows. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would, yeah, I've also noted down the feedback, and maybe we could share this all on the chat also for the participants to sort of go through after. I think before we open to the participants for questions, I think one burning question I'm still sitting with is there any framework with which we can approach a problem statement? Like what, like, yes, because even both of us are starting with a lot of emotion, which is probably where somebody who's not very strategic like us is. What is one parameter to judge it by? Like, I think when you said that have 3 words and break them down into what, how, why, like that is one framework that we can use. But any other frameworks that we can apply to build that difference in vision mission, to build the meaning of these words?
I can share a little. Soumya, go for it. You नहीं, जिसने पहले unmute किया उसका batting.
I think we should take the word vision very literally, which is that you should be able to see it. It's similar to what Jigyasa was saying about show don't tell. Two, I think I like your smart wala framework. I know that's more for goals and stuff like that, but फिर भी कुछ हद तक I think it's very usable. It's very usable there also. When we set out IT student vision, I wanted it to be one just clearly visible, right? Like ye hua ki nahi hua should not be in doubt with anyone, right? Nobody should be able to tell me ye. There should be no ifs and buts around it. Ye hua to hua, yes. Two, I mean, ideally as measurable as possible, not very necessary, but to a large extent, if you can make it measurable. And three, I think everyone should get it, in your org. It's not about rest of the world and all of that, but everyone in your org should get it. And org will have very different kind of people in it, different backgrounds, different. I would even say different, views of looking at the organizations. Somebody in finance and somebody in HR and somebody on the ground teaching staff. Everyone should get it. So maybe those are the 2-3 things that I've used to make that clear and concrete. Not all of SMART, but at least the measurable and specific parts of it. Yeah.
I think Jigyasa was going to add.
Yes. I think the first thing I was just going to say and respond to was Ria saying full of feelings and not strategic like me when she said about herself. And I was like, is this another woman who is, representing herself as made up of just feelings and not strategy? But I think, so one part of it is that, feelings are a huge part of vision. A lot of our vision initially comes from the feelings that we're feeling based on the circumstances and based on what are the scenes of transformation that we see in our head as a result of our work. So a framework to use when creating vision is the framework of what will a scene of transformation look like. And the second one, especially when thinking about mission, would be thinking about it as playing a game and winning this game. Knowing which is the playground you'll play in and knowing what does winning mean. Now, the huge disclaimer to both of these is that as time passes and as you grow and as you learn and as you stay with the problem and as you experiment with solutions, both your scenes of transformation and where you will play and how you will win will evolve. But hopefully it will not be too astray from what you imagined right in the beginning. And hence, I think these two frameworks of like the scene of transformation and knowing where you'll play and how you'll win are good frameworks to begin with obviously leaning into curiosity. I will mention curiosity 100 times because my name is Jigyasa, but really, really as a core value to me as a person as well.
Thank you. I think that answered my question very tangibly. Like, sit down with these frameworks. I think curiosity into 100. Noted. Just opening the space to the participants, I think, to the audience for questions at this stage. We're going to keep around, in the interest of time, around 10 minutes for the questions, and then we'll have one closing remark from each of our panelists. So I think people on the call, if you could just start putting in your questions. I know that we received a few questions while the conversation was going on. If you could just put them down back here.
I have a couple listed out, which I thought were interesting. So I'll just start off. Avni asks, can you elaborate on what you mean by show me in a vision statement? And can you explain this via an example?
Yes, it's a really difficult one, but I'll tell you, for some organizations, it might be clearer and easier to do. And for some organizations, slightly harder, because then they will have their further, broken down terminologies for it. So for example, for an organization like Akshay Patra, every child getting a nutritious meal, very, very, it's a show, don't tell. right? It's a show. We all know what a child who is having nutritious meals looks like, what a healthy child's look like. For another organization, let's say like a Dream, the vision is for every child a thriving life. Now, thriving is also show, it's not tell. But thriving has different meanings for different peoples. And then, the organization Dream has defined what thriving means to them. For Slam Out Loud, every child will have a voice that empowers them to change lives, right? Every child having a voice can again be a show. Like you can think of, who's a child who has a voice. You can literally also think of it, but this is more metaphorical in our work. But then different people have different definitions of what it even means to have a voice for themselves and then for children. And then we've defined what does voice mean, what does, empowering one's own life, other people's life mean with it, then broken down into, what does a safe space mean, which will lead to that voice coming in. So while for some causes, like the vision can be very clear, but it always has to create a scene in your head. And that is what I mean when I say show, don't tell. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that one last bit that you said about everything, it should make you picture something. I think that's a very concrete takeaway that we can use to build a one-line vision mission. I think
Also, it's different for different people. I think when you're working with intangible things like voice, what does that? You can't see it, but there is always a way. I think where Soumya was also saying, like, if you can make it more measurable, the outcomes, I should be able to see it, and all stakeholders.
Yeah, I mean, there are to add like two examples to Jigyasa's wonderful list. I think one is there's an organization in Chicago that I really respect. I think they're just called One Goal. And their goal is straightforward. I want to increase Chicago's graduation rate by X% every year. Done. And I think that's such a clear, measurable, understandable thing. Another way to do it was something that I'm personally quite happy with. Back in 2015, when we started the first school, we wrote like a one-pager. So contrary to the 3 words Chandani was saying, we wrote a whole one-pager on it, right? And when we drew this picture out saying, here's a student, and we said, this student of mine, and her name's Janvi, I want all of us to be able to see how she's getting dropped off at the gate of Ferguson College. And what does that first day of grade 11 look like? And we said, I want everyone to picture what the Ferguson College gate looks like. And I want to picture the trees there. And I want to picture her getting off the bus. And I want to picture what kind of handbag she has, what clothes she's wearing, how her parents are feeling slightly nervous. My kid's going to college, how all her teachers are there saying, wow, she made it there. And how she's, kind of nervously looking back, saying bye, but still excitedly moving ahead, looking for friends. And I was like, let's get that picture ultra clear in our mind, and then let's kind of work towards that. It was amazing because Janvi made it to Azim Premji University after 12th, and unfortunately her parents passed away. And I had the privilege to fly down to Bangalore to drop her off. And वो मतलब इतना ज़्यादा मैच हुआ उससे कि I was stunned myself only कि अरे वाह हमने यही one pager लिखा था and exactly वैसा लग रहा था, like I was standing at the gate of APU and she was kind of walking in and all of those things I described were happening, and so that's what I would say when you say show don't tell, that's what I've been sort of using, and the parameters of that are not important. Is it just Janvi or is it just Ferguson College क्यों and APU क्यों? वो सब जरूरी नहीं है यार. I'm painting one photograph. I'm not talking about सबके लिए क्या जरूरी है, etc. But that one photograph. Yeah, that's kind of the how we've used show don't tell in the past.
I think it's the perk of making a vision statement that you can really imagine is that one day it'll actually come true and then it'll match that imagination you had. And I think that'll be a crazy feeling for people who actually get to experience that at some point. Thank you, Soumya and Jigyasa, for that. But we also have a couple of questions lined up, which are very interesting. So I'll start with the first one. The first one is, if all three of you had to share your vision and mission in a couple of lines, what would it be? So, yeah, I think we can start with Chandni and then move on.
Yeah, so like our vision as an organization is very clear. And interestingly, we've actually transformed it in the past 1 or 2 years. So previously it was to transform 50,000 government schools in the country. And now it is just very simple. 1 million government schools, like work with 1 million government school educators across India to transform government schools. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can see that that's really crisp and a strong statement. Jigyasa, if you want to go next.
Yes, we have a poetic vision and we have a number vision, and then we have a mission statement. So the poetic vision is, of course, every child has a voice that empowers them to change lives. And our number vision is reach 20 million children by 2025. Create safe spaces for 20 million children by 2025 by working with government systems and artists. And we do it through 2 programs in which we place artists into classrooms and by working with governments across the country. And our mission is to use the power of visual and performing arts to build creative confidence in children from low-income backgrounds aged 8 to 16. And within that, then we've defined what creative confidence means, what it looks like, how we'll measure it, and what does success mean to us in terms of what are the scenes of transformation for our children, and what do they look like.
Soumya?
Yeah. We have a vision and we have a student vision and then we have a mission. The one line sort of top vision is, or org vision is a level playing field for all children. The student vision, which is what do we want our students to achieve when they graduate from an IT school, has 4 components to it. It says everyone will make it to and through college. They'll be able to design and lead a healthy and balanced lifestyle. They'll be able to articulate their passions, their abilities, and their career choices, and they'll own India's development. And then the way to do it, which is the mission, is to build a community of transformational schools.
Okay, so I think now that we've each shared what our vision mission is for our
Now Anjana is going to
organization.
repeat all of them.
No, I'm not going to repeat
What?
them. But I think I'm really excited for this next question. And I think this is a tough one. So I'm excited. So how did you go about choosing one problem you want to solve, especially if there were many you felt strongly about? And I think that that's also an answer, Ria, and I really want to hear, because I think we're at that stage where we just don't know what to solve. So.
It's never a straightforward answer to that. There are many problems, opportunities, and we all spoke about problems, opportunities. I think Jigyasa gave a great framework around exploit and explore. So वो कभी भी ऐसा, it's not a very straightforward answer at all, I would say. I think 2 things have helped me personally. One, really committed to the idea of doing what it takes to pull kids and their families out of poverty. So we've always evaluated all the different ideas that we have to check if that's going to lift that student and their family out of poverty or not. And is that the most reliable and effective way to do it? And that helps us clarify a lot of what we want to do and how to go about it. 2 is what I said before. It needs to align to your strengths and what you can do really well. I think 3 is this is really personal to me. I've also kind of started to think about my career maybe in 4 decades, something like that. And so I'm trying to reduce my own FOMO of sab kuch kyun nahi karna hai by saying, theek hai yaar, first 10 years, let's do this. And then maybe next 10 years, we'll do something else, right? And that's when I say, I mean, I'll do something else. And so, theek hai, then you're like, okay, I can solve 4 problems here. And like, I can work on, not solve, contribute towards a solution towards 4 different problems. And that's enough. 4 से ज़्यादा है तो बहुत ही problem है. तो then I'm like, ठीक है, sequence करेंगे. अभी ये वाला कर रहे हैं. Then, 10 years later kuch aur karenge, and so on and so forth, you know. And I like to use Shaheen's example, right? She started with Akanksha, did that for, I don't know, 15, 20, something like that years. And then said, you know what, I want to now work on supplying leaders to the education sector. And so she went to TFI, and who knows what she does next, you know. Maybe she has a couple more such large things in her to drive. And so that's kind of what reduces my FOMO also, to say ki baad mein karenge, it's okay. But I'll do it later. Somebody else might be doing it, which is great.
Chandni, if you want to add.
Yeah, I'm thinking again, this is like little differing from Soumya's perspective. For me, it's just been one thing actually from since I've gotten like it's more connected to my purpose, and it was only one which is key, like government schools have the potential to be amazing, and they can be amazing, and government teachers deserve support, and that's it. And they don't get it. There's really not belief in government school systems. There's no consistent support. And there's like no motivation or dignity that's given to those educators. And that's literally the only problem that I would say that we've been trying to solve. And everything is connected to that. And it's my personal motivation as well. So that's been a very clear area of connection for me. And it could look like multiple different ways of getting there, but the problem is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think in the interest of time, we will take just one last question, and maybe just to one person who wants to answer this. When the educational crisis challenge goes so deep down, is it advisable to keep the vision narrow and achievable? And can the vision change and evolve with time?
I'll take it just because I have a thought that's there. But please, Jigyasa or Chandni, please add. Yeah, I was with, I'll quote Shaheen again. I was with her in 2015, 16 at some point in a bus ride. Yeah, and I don't know where we were coming from, but somewhere where many people were sharing their visions. Yeah, and at the end of it all, we were really moved by it. Shaheen also shared with me very sort of neutrally that, guys, I want all of us to stay clear that visions are dime a dozen. Executing it well is where the rubber hits the road. Yeah, and so I would totally agree with being narrow. I would totally agree with making that like delivering on the promises you're making to kids, and then think about widening and other things like that. वो execution में जान निकल जाती है. Vision likhna is not very difficult. So just executing that really well is where the difference between and that's not just nonprofit, that's all sectors, right? But the difference between a successful organization and a not so successful organization is where can you execute with fidelity to that vision that you've written down.
Yeah, anything you would like to add to that? Or do we have other questions, Anjana? Yeah, Chandni is saying something.
+1 to execution is everything. Vision is like, I think most organizations have a very beautiful vision. They're really powerful. It's just everything is like in the implementation, execution. And I would like to also add one thing that I've learned is like, also one thing that's very important is like, what do you measure? And you should measure what matters, don't measure everything. So it's a circle between those things, the vision, the execution, and your data, your learning and insights. Like, how are you learning and constantly growing and evolving? And are you taking that space to do that? So that's just like a complete circle for me. And I think the question was, can your vision change? Yeah, I mean, it can. Like, one thing also learning is key. Let's not also take ourselves so like itna heavy nahi hona chahiye. Like, you can take yourself lightly. It's okay. You can change. Anything is possible. Things can change. Things can completely fall apart. You might just like completely shut things down and restart them. It's absolutely fine. I think sometimes with very big visions na, it feels like a heavy weight on your shoulders कि ये तो करना ही करना है. It's okay. Like इतना भी अपने आप को you shouldn't be weighed down by your vision. And if it feels like it needs to evolve, if it feels like it's not getting you closer to what you need to do for children or educators, then yeah, of course, evolve. Everything must evolve.
I think I'll just +1 to what both of them said, really. Like, sapne to sabhi dekhte hain, sab to sach nahi karte. And so really execution is everything. But I also want to add that, I mean, while people can have feelings and people can strongly connect with multiple issues, like having a vision is not just about what you feel strongly about. It's also about what you're good to solve. Why are you the right person to solve this thing? Why are you the right person to start an organization, start an initiative that does something about it? Why are you someone to lead it and not be a first, second, third, or nth follower? And then having a vision also becomes like you have that ikigai diagram, no? Like, what is something you feel strongly about? What is something that the world needs? And maybe one more criteria, but what is also something you can measure? And that's how you create a vision. You're more thoughtful about it, and then you execute, and then that's when you know. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation. I think we've come a full circle of first, just what is clarity? How does one achieve it? But also clarity is not everything. So once we have a document, we shouldn't pat our backs too much. Because I think, like you said, it is about getting the right team, getting the right stakeholders to implement it. And what I was also thinking is that when you are on ground implementing, like to keep your ears and eyes open so that we're listening to the people we're working with so that our vision evolves. Like it is a circle and it all like planning, execution does go hand in hand. So thank you. I think I'm walking out of the session with a little more confidence in the fact that it's okay to evolve. It's okay to be reactionary. It's not a crime. And the more we walk in the path appears. And I think what I think Soumya said of like to really visualize that vision. I think it was a powerful story you shared because I've heard about it, but when you were talking about it, like if I could visualize that for one of my students and that day comes to life, that would be something. So that's another way of looking at what clarity looks like. I'm still very overwhelmed the fact that I got to speak to all of y'all, but thank you again for this time. I hope it was a good conversation. And just to close off, I think any last takeaway to somebody who is probably in their year 1, year 2 of the social sector, anybody who's probably sitting, struggling, a little underconfident with their vision document, any one piece of advice you would like to leave them with. And just before you start, I think for participants, we've also opened up a feedback form, which would be really beneficial for us to grow and evolve from. So if you could just quickly fill that as our panelists are sharing their last thoughts. And popcorn style, whoever wants to go first.
So the question was one key takeaway, right?
Yeah. To somebody who's just starting out.
Matlab, for me, one key takeaway is that sabki suno, but you know what works best for you. So nobody starts out as an expert. Just be true to yourself. And I think if you just don't take so much pressure that you need to solve everything right now, right away. You need to achieve the vision right now in 1 year. You don't have to do everything right now this year. It takes time. And if you're making a commitment to a vision, it is a long-term commitment. So ensure that, and most people in the development sector, whatever I've experienced, like we burn out very fast because we put this like crazy pressure on ourselves, which is honestly not needed. It is a false sense of urgency. Let's show up with agency, not so much urgency is fine, we're here, but yeah, like learn a lot, but be true to yourself as well, and like ensure that you're constantly listening to your own voice as much as you're listening to others. Yeah, that's it. Okay, next person, Jigyasa. So we have to tag. So, Jigyasa, go. Wise words, last words.
Wise words. I don't know, friends. Watch Barbenheimer. Just kidding. I think stick to your vision or have a vision, but stick to it loosely. Lean on it with curiosity. However, the problem that you want to solve, like stick to it with all stakes in the ground.
I would just say go out and do a bunch of stuff. See if it works, and if it doesn't, take the time to figure out why it didn't work and try something else. Yeah, just pilot a bunch of stuff and learn more from what hasn't worked, to figure out, especially the answer to the questions that we were saying बहुत ही easily कि know what you're good at. वो बहुत मुश्किल सवाल है. But one way to know that is, go out there and then fail, and then you're like, hey, this actually doesn't work for us, and so हमें नहीं करना आता है. So it'll make you closer to क्या करना आता है actually. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you again for this. And I'm sorry to throw you with such a big question to open with and close with. But I think you all have done a lot of justice to it. At least I'm walking out of this space very inspired. And also realizing that, like, I might sound a little odd when I say this, but also like how a big or accomplished you become. I think all three of you all held the ground very humbly. It was we felt very, as people doing this for the first time, we felt very like it's okay to make mistakes even if we do. So thank you for also co-holding space for us. And thank you for joining us on this evening. It was lovely to have you. And yeah, over to Ashya.
Yes, once again, thank you so much, Ria and Anjana as well, for moderating so beautifully. And it was just the right mix of personal and just objective. And I had such a great time just learning and absorbing some of the things that I'm taking away, which is that, I mean, look at the problem. The problem is what you're trying to solve, and solutions can come from every direction. Don't let all of them distract you. Stick to that. Jani, very interestingly, you said agency over urgency, which I mean, completely agree. However, slightly ironic because I know how urgently you do all your work, and you're usually the person who's always like pushing to get most done every day. So very interesting. And again, Samya, just like the clarity and just like the ability to just be measurable and focus on not just the problem that it is that you want to solve, but how do you take everyone with you, and your focus on taking the org with you. It's just like really stood out. And I hope to everyone who watched this and who will be watching this, whether on Zoom or on YouTube or in the recording that we'll share with you, you're taking away a few things that you will then be able to apply for your own self, for your own vision, for what you're going to build. Like Samya said, go out and do, act, and then that will help us build clarity. That will help us build a clearer vision. And I hope that you're taking away, that's what you're taking away. This is the first in our series of forums that we're hosting for people who do want to, reinvent education through schools and after school centers, and in fact through entrepreneurship across education. We will be coming back with the next up. Before that, we will be sharing more resources based from this panel, all the learnings we took out from these panelists. And yes, we're looking forward to learning from your feedback, because that's going to help us build better for you all. With that, once again, thank you so much, Jigyasa, Soumya, Chandni, and Anjana and Ria, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all.